it up.
Hey everyone, what's going on? Mark here again from TST Industries, back in the garage. And here beside me we have a gorgeous 2021 Yamaha MT-09. This is the SP version, and this video and this adventure we're about to go on will be the same on the non-SP model as well. We just happen to have this piece of eye candy here, so we're gonna do this. Today I will be showing you the installation process of our standard Yamaha front flush mounts. These are a basic clear or smoked option. They are not plug and play. They do not have a running light function. However, within the product page, you can opt to purchase and include and save a little bit of money by including our plug and play harness converters and our TST Running Mate product, which will introduce a running light circuit and function onto your front signals. This is a pretty straightforward installation process. I really just want to demonstrate the use of this rubber spacer and the locking nut in relation to the signal and the signal shroud. And it is important to note that this method, from what we're seeing, could be used on many other Yamaha models that have these new LED front turn signals, including the new 2021 Yamaha MT-07. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Like I said, this is a pretty straightforward installation process, not too much guesswork, and luckily not too many spare pieces laying around. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So to begin this installation process, we do need to begin by removing this front signal cover. This is attached to the actual signal shroud that the signal is mounted to, but I will just show you a life hack. They don't know this. You can actually just push this signal hard enough forward and you can gain access to everything you need behind, with the exception of the electrical connector. We will be doing that. But for now, let's go ahead and remove this front turn signal cover. It is a 4mm bolt up top. There's also one down below, and I should mention we do have our Wometech Evos frame sliders installed. If you have any frame sliders installed on your 2021 plus Yamaha MT-09 on this front engine bolt, well, they will get in the way of you accessing this bolt just enough. So you want to be very careful when removing this bolt, and when tightening it down, you don't want to cross thread and you don't want to round the head off of the bolt. So just be very, very careful, go slow. I've done this a few times so I feel comfortable. And then once it's protruding enough, you can actually just remove it that way by your hand. Next, we do have two Phillips rivets on the back face of this signal shroud, the interface. These are a little bit pesky. Sometimes when you're loosening them up, the whole body is spinning. You can't get a good grip on it, and then you're not really loosening anything up. So you just want to be very careful. Like I said, there's two of them back here. We're going to use a Phillips head screwdriver. There's two of them back here, so keep that in mind. Once they're raised and protruding ever so slightly, you can use a small tool like a pick or a small flathead screwdriver and pry up gently, allowing you to actually remove the Phillips rivet from its holding geometry. And as they come out, it's important to note that there's a chance that they will stay together or they may separate as shown here. Pretty easy to reuse them, but we will make note of that as we're moving forward. Let's go ahead and remove this signal cover. There's really only one connector back here, not like on the left side. If you are performing this installation on the left side, you will notice there's two connectors. One of them is actually going to the O2 sensor on the exhaust. We don't have to worry about that on this side. So let's go ahead. We're gonna use a tool and pry up on this locking tab and then push away, separating the connector and disconnecting the signal from the main harness. We can unroute this. And like I said, we already pushed the signal forward. So now we need to remove the metal bracket that is actually holding the form of the signal base in place. And that will allow us to pull the signal forward through the signal shroud, along with the electrical connector, and voila. And to show you what I did there, I'm gonna reinstall it. But on the back of this signal, there is a metal bracket, and this holds the signal shape in place making sure that it's form-fitting and being pressed against the inner face of this signal shroud. In order to remove it, you want to just pry on one of the flaps and then pull up. That'll free it from the holding tabs, and then you're good to go. We don't just want to toss these to the side just yet. It is important to note that this is a two-piece system, and this rubber gasket is actually going to be reused. So you just want to pull it apart from the main signal body, feed the signal through, toss that to the side. We're going to reuse this signal gasket on the signal shroud. We're going to have the flat side facing outward, the ridge side facing inward, and there's a small channel there that will tell us if we're doing it right. So let's go ahead and just insert it there. Sitting nice and flush. This will help provide a little bit of tension and friction against the signal, locking it in place and ensuring it doesn't slide around too much. Next, we want to grab our signals. And as I mentioned, this is a pretty simple kit. You get two signals of your choosing, either smoked or clear. It is a 2-wire system, meaning it either turns on or off. It does not have a running light circuit. So as we connect this to our harness converters, which I will show in just a few seconds, in a few minutes, you will see that we are terminating 2 wires into a 3-wire connection, and I will show you how to do that. But when you are purchasing these, you are purchasing just a signal. Within the product page, you have the option to buy together and save, and that will allow you to purchase the signal converters and our running mate harness as well, all together with the flush mounts, save you a little bit of money and get you all squared away with everything you may want or need. So be sure to read through the product page carefully. At this point, we can feed the wires through, hold the wires here. We're gonna grab our bag of hardware. There's 2 rubber spacers, 2 nylon locking flanged nuts. We're going to first slide the rubber spacer over, the wire terminals, and then the locking fastener. Now we're gonna push all through. And as you can see here, I don't know if the signal's in the way, but we actually have the rubber spacer sitting nice and flat against the interface. That's providing a little bit of tension, additional tension, and it's giving you some spacing so you can easily get that locking nut on. So we're gonna push that through, place this exactly where you want it, and then feed the locking nut onto the actual signal. And this is all plastic on plastic with rubber in between. The rubber flexes, and as does the plastic. If you over tighten them, they can break, so please be careful and be aware of what you're doing. And as you can see, I did a few turns and they're locked in place. I like to go about 1/8 of a turn past that. Really make sure it's locked in. Good to go. We can now grab our TST harness converters for this system and plug them and connect them to the main bike harness. We will be skipping the running light and running mate feature on this installation for ease of installation and to cut down on time, but that is something to note as you move forward. So let's go ahead and grab that harness. Now with our TST harness converter in hand, you can see, just as I mentioned, we have 3-wire terminals here, 2 on the signal body. We're going to not use the blue one, as that is the running light function, so please push that aside, bend it backwards and kind of tape it off. And we will take this connection and do yellow to brown. Yellow is the signal connection, the power to the signal body, and then the red to black is the ground. Make sure you insert them and you feel a small click. That means that they are locked in place. Slip the terminals over and connect it to the bike. Let's go ahead and test our signal connection. Make sure it does work. As you can see, it flashes when I activate the signal. It turns off when I do not. No running light, we are good to go. I'm happy with that connection. And again, I stress it, if you do purchase the running mate, it'll bridge the connection between these two and introduce this 3rd wire, a running light function, and then your signals will have a running light capability along with the signal. At this point, let's go ahead and grab some electrical tape. I have this pre-cut. I'm going to tape off the blue wire, terminating it so it doesn't just flop around. If these rubber sleeves come loose, and the metal bullet connectors touch each other or the frame or anything else, there's a potential for them to short. Blow a fuse, you won't have signals, there's a possibility your dash or other things may stop working. So make sure that you are not only slipping the rubber terminals over before turning the bike on, but you're also securing them so that they can't touch each other or anything else. At this point, I'll take another piece of tape and tape over the bullet connectors, preventing them from shaking loose over time. This is a pretty thumpy bike. It does vibrate quite a bit. So we just want to do some front-loaded work to save us time in the long run. With that one terminated, I can now tape the two together. I know they're not going to touch. I'm happy with that. If you have heat shrink, you can use that. All you garage mechanics out there, it's entirely up to you. Now with that all secured, I know that it functions. We can test it again just to make sure. Good. Let's go ahead and tuck these wires through. We're going to route them through the appropriate channel here and kind of push them all together and bundle them like so. At this point, everything's tucked away real nice. We'll take our front signal cover, slip it back on, and before I go to the rear and do those Phillip rivets, I will just hand thread these front bolts in place. You always want to do it by hand when you start to make sure you are not cross threading. And like I said with this bottom one, if you have frame sliders, it's a little bit trickier. So doing it by hand initially is probably the best way to go. All right, now I'm happy with that. There's no wires being pinched along this interface. And we can reinsert these Phillips rivets. As you can see, these have teeth that expand. If you insert them and they're not 100% inserted into both of the accepting features on these signal pieces, one of the teeth can bend out, it'll fray out and prevent it from seating properly and locking this in place. If that happens, you can just squeeze this a little bit, squeeze the teeth inward. It'll reform as much as possible, as long as you didn't force it in there, and then you can try again. And now this one actually came out completely, so I'll just reinsert this. And again, pinch the teeth, making sure they're nice and tight. I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and tighten down these bolts on the rear, and we'll be ready to ride. Now that the installation is complete, you can see how sleek and flush these signals truly are compared to the stock Yamaha LED front turn signals that stick out quite a bit. These bring a level of sleekness to the bike that you really can't see with standard traditional pod signals or the Yamaha ones. We can turn them on once more. Just make sure that as we reassembled everything, nothing got crossed, signals flash, and they truly are a flush mount turn signal. If you want to check these out or any other product we may have for the Yamaha MT-09 or any other bike that may be sitting in your garage, be sure to stop by our website, tstindustries.com. The link is in the description below. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, you want to say hey, leave them in the comment field below. Don't forget to subscribe and turn that notification bell on to stay up to date with all the fun and invigorating videos we are releasing. Be sure to stop by our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all username TST Industries. And for now, this is Mark. Catch you guys next time.